So Chris, we're here to talk about this particular player who is partially blind in one eye, and it's a new injury. And I saw your post on Facebook, and I think it's interesting because what do coaches immediately do? They immediately give 1-line or 3-line answers to your problem, but do they really understand the problem? So, I think as coaches, we have to stop and say, all right, there's a lot we don't understand before we just give solutions. Because, what I want to do with you is let's dig into this. Let's find out, what's realistic, what's helpful, what's the nature of the problem.
Right.
Because all these solutions that don't understand the nature of the problem are going to be maybe helpful, shot in the dark, maybe. All right. So Chris, tell us very little bit about you and where you are, and then what is the situation with the kid?
I've been teaching for 25 years, and had some experience actually working with various disabilities. Had one student a number of years ago that was blind in her left eye, which is what we're going to be discussing on this particular player, that I helped her learn how to serve, because when she would toss the ball, she could not see it. So basically I adjusted her toss to be something we as traditional coaches would say is a terrible toss. I had her toss it along the baseline to her right, and where her right eye could see it, and then had her do a swing outside wide and gave her a nasty slice on it. And it was so bad her husband quit paying for lessons because he couldn't return her serve.
That's awesome. All right.
So that's just one of the things. I've done a lot. 25 years of teaching, we've done a lot. So
terrific. And so now there's this particular player, and before we got started, you informed me that this is not somebody who's ambitious to become, a great player in their life, but they can become, a decent recreational player and play well and play their entire lives if they can solve this problem. So, so why don't you kind of reiterate what is the problem that we're trying to solve here?
The kid grew up in a typical Texas background. He played football for a couple of years, and unfortunately he was an offensive lineman and got hit one day, ended up getting a concussion and a partial tear of his optic nerve from his eye. Doctor said it would heal back naturally, which it did, but there's still long-lasting ramifications from the injury. So he still has problems tracking the ball. Specifically, it's his right eye, and he has trouble tracking on the backhand side. So we're working on a lesson today, and I gave him some feedback that I had for him, but wanted to reach out to the other pros and just see if they had any other ideas besides what I had. So
yes, and see, and like I said earlier, it's dangerous to, I think, come up with too simple of answers for the problem, because my first question was, how new of an injury is this? So how long ago did that happen?
Probably about 18 months to 2 years in this kid's case, yeah.
Which in brain plasticity terms is actually pretty recent. And he's how old?
14. Maybe
14. So
15. 15.
15.
So still young.
Yes. And see, that's even more hopeful than 18. So there's a lot that can be done. Now, what can he see with his injured eye?
That I don't know for a fact. Of course, I can't see for him. Yeah, I can't see for him. He does have some tracking ability, but I don't know exactly what it is. When he was hitting today, he missed probably 20 balls, just complete swing and miss. Okay. So that's where the question came up today is, how much can he or can't he see? So.
Okay, good. So 20 out of how many?
I'd say about 350.
Okay, terrific. So, what they say is if something is measured, it's managed. So there you have, you have kind of a rough idea that, he's missing 7% of the shots, just clean missing. Yeah. So a great goal would be to cut that in half.
Okay.
right? And to be happy
Yeah,
with that.
Yeah, it'd be better. Yeah, it'd be much better.
Right,
Yeah.
right, because it's not going to go. It's not going to go from 0 to hitting the sweet spot every time like a pro. That's not going to happen. So I would say measure. Actually sit down and chart what is his baseline behavior and ability, because part of what helps with brain plasticity is when you can track success, because then you get the dopamine response that then motivates, physiologically motivates learning.
Okay.
So when you can say, hey, look at that. Hey, look at that. You missed 20 out of 350, and then we had another 400 shots, and you only missed 15. So, hey, that's, pretty big improvement.
We're showing signs of improvement.
So,
right.
Because this feedback is really important for brain plasticity, and I've been learning a lot lately about what's really important. I lately have shifted my focus away from slightly purely the visual part, because I realized I was putting the cart before the horse. So putting the visual part first is not actually the best place to start, because really what you want to do is start with the brain.
Okay.
Because 60% of what the brain does is visual, but then there's that other 40% that the brain's busy doing, which plays a lot into it. Okay. So, in general, some general advice would be, I'm going to assume that if he swings and misses, he's feeling bad about that, and that's going to affect his anxiety levels, and higher anxiety means poorer performance.
A little bit. He knows where he stands right now in the world. He's the bottom level of his JV team, and we're working to improve that, but he knows where he is. Yes,
and that sounds nice, and I recognize what you're saying, and I value what you're saying, and all that. But when he swings and misses,
he'd like to be a lot better. Yeah, he'd like to be a lot better. That's definitely sure. Yeah.
When he swings and misses, he doesn't feel good. So, so what you want to do is you want to be able to build up that ability. Now, I think a really good place for you to go after this would be to discuss with him what exactly can you see with your other eye. Is it just shapes and indistinct shapes? Can you see moving objects at all? Is it blurry? Is it is there some clarity to it in some regard? So dig into that a little bit more. Another thing I would like to know is, what was his dominant eye prior? If it's known, what was his dominant eye prior to the injury?
Something I'd have to talk to his parents about.
Okay.
He didn't start taking lessons until after the injury with me. So.
Right. Now, another thing that plays into this is, I'm going to presume that injury is relatively permanent. Things can change. The brain can adapt. But let's say that injured eye was his dominant eye. Well, right now his brain's in the process of shifting that over to the other eye, because whichever eye is, so there's a rewiring that happens. So I would say a good thing to do with him would be to get some eye patches, and have him wear an eye patch to cover the injured eye, and so that he has to rely solely on the good eye. Okay. And then if he can see something, if he can see enough to make anything happen with his injured eye, then cover the dominant eye. But use your best judgment, because obviously if that's creating a safety issue, then that is no good.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So when I saw your question on Facebook, I was like, oh, I know what's going to happen. People are going to give these really simple answers, and it's really a complicated problem, because there's so much that needs to be dug into. Right. And one of the things that I just read yesterday, there's a guy, Dr. Michael Merzenich, and he is the pioneer when it comes to brain plasticity. And one of the major discoveries that they've made within the last 20 years is that which you pay very close attention to is what you have the greatest gains in plasticity in.
Okay.
So I think the application there would be that he ought to very strongly try to pay full attention with his functional eye, and make that a very strong case of intentionality. And then with the ball, give him some skills like, seeing the ball come out of the frame, tracking the blurring object. Give him things to pay attention to, from the bounce into the frame, have him try to pick up the seam or the logo on the ball or some detail about the ball in the very last moments before striking it. Because having him attend fully and really give the mental effort towards seeing is going to help his brain adapt better to develop these new capacities. So what else do you think I need to know? What question should I ask next?
That's a good one. Excuse me. What I actually did for him today was everything was hit on the backhand side, which is his weaker side with this. What I actually did was told him to turn his body a little bit more so the left eye was more in tune with what he was seeing, and then try and hit more of the shots cross court. He was trying to hit down the line, and my idea was hit him more cross court, where it turned his body so that left eye was more in tune with the ball.
Okay, so the right eye is injured.
Right.
Okay, and he's right-handed.
He's right-handed hitting backhands today. Yeah.
Okay, very good. So for the purposes of what we understand, he's cross-dextral because of his injury. So
he has to be at this point. Yeah.
Left eye dominant, right-handed. So with those kinds of players, then yes, you definitely want to turn. It's probably more important to make sure that the head is turned forward.
Right.
Because one thing people don't account for is that your dominant eye is blocked by your nose.
Right.
So when you turn your eye forward, then it doesn't have to look past your nose, and you can sight things forward much more easily.
Which is why I was trying to get him hit more of an open stance backhand so that he was facing more of the ball with that left eye. So
and that's where you get into other laterality issues. So sometimes people compromise their ability to hit by shifting their whole body. So I think you want to go in measures. I think the first measure is simply turning the head and allowing the body to be where it's natural. And then because, people have a dominant foot and they have a dominant spin preference. And so you want to discover this player's everything now. And who knows how it shifts when the eye thing changes. So there's a time of discovery and plasticity where he has a chance to learn this sort of all over again.
Yeah. So that's where I am. There were a couple of comments about running around the backhand, hitting a forehand. Again, this is not a kid that's going to be playing at a high level. So the idea of running around it's just not going to work for him. So that's why I came and would love the idea of, okay, what else is out there besides, some of the easy questions. So I could suggest running around a forehand. I've told kids to do it for years. This isn't going to work on this kid. So that's why I came to the group and was looking for other answers. So, yeah.
Awesome. So now, were there some other comments that people made that you want to dig into and evaluate? Do you have that handy?
Yeah, let me look at them real quick.
Because I think Champy said something interesting, and I think he was coming at it from a cross-dextral standpoint.
Yes, he was actually, yeah, and that's something I've had a lot of experience with that. Actually, my dad's cross dominant. He's actually right-eyed and left-handed, and I ran into that when I was a kid. I didn't even know what he was doing. So, moved backhand contact point. Yeah, Champney
okay.
did have a good response there. Yes.
Well, and see, that's another interesting thing too, is play around with where contacting the ball works best for him.
Right.
Because there is a difference in how people do that. Pure dextral people generally look farther ahead of the ball than the contact point, and then cross dextral people generally, are paying attention closer to contact and mimicking Federer. But you look at Serena and you look at Andre Agassi, and I think even Nadal, they're looking ahead of contact. Which might indicate that they are pure dextral. All right. Okay. So, what are the main takeaways? Are you ready to wrap this up?
Yeah. Basically, I've got a lot more questions to ask the kid to figure out, what he can and can't see. Being able to, what does he see? It's not can or can't, but does he see a true ball? Does he see more of an outline, or what is he able to see with the ball itself is the first step. And then figuring out where his vision actually starts and stops is going to be a big thing for his contact point. Today he was making a lot of contact back by his middle of his body, or back by his left foot on the backhand. So he was waiting for the ball to get there, and that's another cue that he was having a hard time seeing with that right eye, that he was waiting for the ball to get behind his body to hit it. So it's going to be a lot of questions over the next couple of weeks, and working with him and just figuring out what he can do, and then going from there. So, yeah.
Right. And then let's say he does have some ability to see with the injured eye. There are two free apps that I highly recommend. One is called Eye Exerciser. Okay. And the other one is called Hawkeye, and it's not shot related to Shot Spot, but it's called Hawkeye. And if he can perform Hawkeye at the easiest level, there's a lot of value there. Okay. And with his good eye exercise, both of those will really improve his acuity quite a bit. And then after he tries out Eye Exerciser, I do recommend the pro version of that, because you can unlock more exercises and do more. And it's not all that expensive, but you can try it out for free. And then if you like it, then I'd say go ahead.
Pass it on to the parents, Pass it on to the parents, let them deal with it.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, it's like, I forget what it is. It's like $4.99 or something like that. It's
most
pretty
apps
cheap.
Aren't that expensive, Most apps aren't that bad.
So, all right. So, all right, very good. So it looks like we got it done here, Chris.
Okay.
And then,
I appreciate it.
You know what? Let's do this again in a couple of weeks after you discover a little bit more about this kid, and then,
happy to.
Let us know how his success is going.
Yeah, I will definitely do that. We'll definitely stay in touch. So.
All right, very good.
Thank you, Bill.
Take care, Chris.
Thanks, Bill.